What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Hey, having started myself at this point 4 businesses that are active, anyways, I wanted to reflect on a couple of the early stages of development as it relates to a business startup, particularly if you're someone that is not a bona fide entrepreneur. You don't really know if you will succeed in business or what you're really looking for. You haven't done business before, which was me. And this is how I thought about it. The first stage is like, can I make a single dollar? Like, is there revenue? Will someone buy this product or service? And that is actually a little bit easier said than done, but it's maybe like easier done than said. I don't know. Sometimes in our heads it gets really complicated and scary to venture out into, oh my gosh, I am going to generate revenue. And within different business models, there's different ways to generate some revenue. I'm not turning this into a coaching content video as far as how to do each of these steps, but that's the first thing you're looking for is like, can I make any revenue? Will I have any customers? Will I have any clients? Will I have any sales? Right? And not necessarily like you don't have to know in advance. Like you could start a business without having had any of that yet. But that's, you're entering into the game when it's like, we just made our first dollar. Like we just got our first sale, just made our first client, or got our first customer. The next kind of tier, and there's a season of time where you're still kind of answering that question of like, of course you can make $1, but you're still like, well, where's the next sale going to come from? Like, can we make it again? Like can we generate revenue? The next question is, can you generate profit? Or in other words, can you generate revenue profitably? If you're spending $1,000 on ads to make $100 in a merch sale, you can consistently make revenue that way, right? Like you'll always be able to make 10% of your money back. But you haven't answered this next phase question, which is, can I make profit? Can I sell something for more than it costs me to do this thing? Like to acquire that sale, or if it's a product, like the cost of the product. Like one of my businesses is a resale business. Here's how much I spent on the item, and here's how much it costs to ship it to me, and here's what I owe in sales tax if I sell the item. So can I sell it for enough to make profit and cover all the overhead maybe of a different business that you have, etc. That becomes its own game. So stage 1 is like generating revenue. We need more revenue. We need more revenue. We need more consistent revenue. Like I need a dependable revenue base. And sometimes that coincides with step 2 or stage 2, but sometimes there are businesses where you really need to grow the revenue base before you can even really think about the profitability. And for example, and the more overhead you have, or the more upfront research costs or labor costs you have, the more that's going to be the case. Versus the more that it's a service-oriented business that you run solo, maybe the less that would be the case. But still, there would probably be at least a day or a month of business operation where your costs are exceeding your revenue, and you're not still worried about it because you're focused on generating revenue, right? You're buying maybe a little bit of branding, maybe a little website, right? Maybe you're buying a couple of pieces of equipment. You get it. The revenue generation, and then it's like profit. Like, can we do this profitably? That becomes its own season, or at least it has been for me within my own businesses. Stage 3 is like, can I make enough profit to make this worth my time and my financial investment. And again, that becomes its own season, its own like series of events of effort. Hold on, I gotta deposit some cash. I'm back. Just a little bit. Yep, thank you. Thanks, Olivia. I have not reached this point in every one of my businesses. At this point, like Budget for Life, for example, it does make revenue consistently. It does make profit consistently. But it's not profitable enough, or I guess I should say, like, the customer base isn't large enough. The amount of time it would potentially require, or the amount of money it would potentially require to scale with my limited skill set, so far it has not been able to justify the investment of time or the investment of money to do that. So there's a lot of people out there that maybe, I don't know, like within the reselling space, there's people that are grinding, spending a lot of time making a nice side $500, and they're not necessarily calculating, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of effort, maybe even some money that they spent on X, Y, or Z to help them in the process. And like, if they do the math, it's like you're making like maybe minimum wage. It's like, okay, so you solve stage 2 kind of, but stage 3 is like, how, like, I don't want to just make a profit. Now, if you can make a profit, like, you can continue to exist. So that's like, I mean, that's we like stage 2, right? But stage 3 is like, how do I make this profitable enough to justify the investment of time into it? And of course, that's like, there's multiple variables in that equation. And if you decrease your investment into it, then it's easy. Like, going back to the Budget for Life example, sorry, got a little twisted there for a sec. The Budget for Life example, like, right now, I don't spend any time on it at all. And we don't spend any money on it at all, other than like $100 a year domain or something like that. But it makes several $1,000s a year, nothing crazy. And it's growing, kind of slow, And if I knew how to grow it fast, I would. But so far, I've invested my time and effort into BR Legacy, my investment management company, into Common Goods, woo-hoo-hoo, my reselling business, and now into my coaching business, financial coaching, business coaching, businesses, because they've leapt into this third stage faster, with a wider margin, with more ease than Budget for Life has. But it's different business. I just keep wanting to coach about things to know at each of these different stages, but that's not the point of this video. I'm just saying it's a different measurement to start thinking about how much is going into this business, and now how much am I making, and is that really worthwhile? A lot of times with business videos or entrepreneurship videos that are produced or put on YouTube, like, a lot of times they'll flex, like, I, in this amount of time, made like X amount of money. And of course, to make the dollar sound bigger, like, they're all talking about how much revenue they made. And I'm like, that's not like how much money you made. I mean, it is sales, but like, that's not very informative. Like, as far as a flex, like, it's just not a good flex. If the goal was to flex, to get clickbait, to get clout and following, it's like anyone can make, not anyone, okay, it is a real stage, like, can I make revenue? But what I'm saying is, like, if you spend enough money and enough time, like, you can get something as far as revenue, but you might not be telling people, like, how much money you spent in order to generate that revenue, or how much time it took you, etc. you get the idea. Stage 3 is justify the investment. Justify the investment from a time perspective, in terms of an hourly, wage or take-home pay that you're getting from that. And what I was talking about with the multiple variables is like, if you decrease the amount of time that you're putting in, that's another way to justify the investment. If it's a very low investment business and it's making you X per month, it's like, well, man, that's a really awesome side hustle. And maybe you can't figure out how to justify doing it 40 hours a week. So great. So don't do it 40 hours a week. Like, make it an awesome side hustle instead of your full-time business. If there was a stage 4, I'm not a master of stage 4, but it pretty much would be like, you've entered the game of scale. Like, the game of scale is kind of that next phase of business. And I've dabbled into that in some different ways, but that's when you start thinking about, man, should I like create franchises for my business? Should I hire managers or sales reps? Like, should I go multi-site? It depends on the business as far as what scale looks like. But that's like, you enter the game of like, how much can I make this business worth? Or even like selling the business could be a part of stage 4. If you don't want to just maintain stage 3, you could just exit. I guess that would be more like an exit. And you can exit at any point. But if you make it to stage 3, then you can get paid to exit. But if you exit at stage 1 or 2, you're just kind of licking your wounds and hoping to get some of your money back. So make it to stage 3, my guys and my gals. And whether you go to stage 4, obviously you can get paid a lot more to exit after that, if you succeed and it's sustainable and it's not completely tied to you as a key man risk. But that's kind of how I would break down side hustles, startup, entrepreneurship, solopreneur type vibe. It's generating the revenue, and then profit, and then ROI, basically. ROI in time, and ROI in actual financial capital. You start looking at, okay, great, we've made this business, makes this money. What's our return on our investment from an actual dollars perspective, and should we continue to invest more in this? Those things become informative to like, should we go ahead and progress into stage 4 with this business or not? Your ROI, like, there's a season of ROI development that you would want to spend some time in before you move on to stage 4. So anyways, that's the way that I break it down mentally. I will talk to y'all again soon. Later.